Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Flipgrid community conversation, all centered around digital citizenship today. My name is Jornay Armand. I'm Head of Educator Innovation at Flipgrid, and our mission at Flipgrid is truly to empower every learner on the planet to share their voice and to respect the diverse voices of others. With that being said, we know how important digital citizenship is to achieving that mission of not only sharing your voice, but also respecting the diverse voice of others. And today we have very special guests with us from our partner, I Can Help, co-founder and executive director, Karr, as well as student intern, Alexa. So welcome, both of you.
Yes, thanks for having us. It's so fun.
We're super excited.
Yes, we are so excited about this conversation because we know your organization is here to help not only educators, but students understand how important digital citizenship is and how that they can implement some simple strategies that can make a big difference in their lives. So Kim, tell us a little bit about I Can Help.
Yeah, so my background is in education. I taught middle school for 13 years, and basically what it was is I had so many students come to us with all kinds of fake pages, hate pages, inappropriate texts, mean text messages, passive aggressive text messages, even nude pictures, and they didn't know how to respond. So what I Can Help does is we get to educate and empower students to use digital for good and how to respond to those like negative things that they see online, since that's their world. So we do that by everyone can help. The question is, will you? We do that by being a part of our community. I Can Help community, helping us educate, which is our curriculum and courses, and then help us lead, which is our internship and mentoring program, which that's what Alexa's involved with.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you mentioned Alexa. And Alexa, as an intern, I know you've been with I Can Help for many, many years now, right? Tell us a little bit about your experience as being a student intern in the work that you do.
Definitely. So I'm going into my sophomore year in college, and I've been with I Can Help since I was in 7th grade. And it's been really amazing to see the internship program continue to grow over the years with our different mentors and awesome projects we get to work on. We have teams of interns and specialists in our annual team who work on everything from marketing to graphic design. And then on top of that, we have our seasonal interns who are college students working to get college credits through internship. And we also have like I said, our mentors who help provide feedback and guidance to our students. And we have our volunteer program. So anyone can sign up to be a volunteer to help out with I Can Help in all our different projects.
I love that. And that's a really great call to action for anyone watching today. So we're going to get started with a question. You know, I know as students are interacting with each other in school, but also online, there are many challenges that they could be facing that either we might be aware of as educators or maybe not really aware. So can you share maybe some of those challenges that students are facing in engaging safely and responsibly online?
Yeah, I think the first one is just what content they're following, right? Because I think they just kind of get into it and they just start following stuff. They're like follow for a follow, and they don't really know what they're following. So they kind of just jump in, and some of the stuff that they're seeing is very toxic. It's very negative. It's stuff that they're being exposed to it and they don't really understand at all. That's one. The other one that we've been dealing with a lot was a lot of really passive aggressive messages where people are thinking it's very dark humor is the trends right now. So people thinking they're being funny and sarcastic when really it's very hurtful and damaging. And so that definitely happened during elections and even during like Black Lives Matter. It was either you're for or you're against somebody or some kind of a belief that they would then target, and they would kind of massively mob people to be able to have that. So that was a huge issue that we're seeing that students are being targeted. So I think those are the two ones that we've been having to help a lot with and help students navigate to how do you handle these awkward situations, because they didn't know because they've never been dealt with it before.
That's a great point, Kim, because sometimes what one person may think as humor can be very damaging to another person, right? And so maybe those are some of the things as educators that we can be aware of, and knowing for students how to respond and speak up for themselves. Like, you might have thought this was funny, but this really hurt me when I read it or when I saw it, right? And to be respectful of that. Alexa, do you have anything you want to add on to these challenges that you might see as a student happening every day in your environments?
Definitely. I think something that a lot of students forget about is their digital footprint. Remembering that anything and everything you post online can be pulled up years down the road in a job application with schools admissions, whatever it may be. And just because your account is private or you post on your private Snapchat story doesn't mean that it's not out there for the world to see. So just, again, think before you post and think about what your digital footprint is.
That's very great advice for everyone out there. I think whether it's a student or an adult who's viewing, that's something that we can be conscious of every single day. And so with that being said, what role do students really have in creating and fostering safe spaces online? Because I think sometimes as educators, we feel like we have to do this work by ourselves, but really we need to involve students in this process. So what advice do you have there?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Alexa. Like, she's on here, like, she's taking action, right? Like, she's being we always say that students are not the future, they're 100% the right now. We need Alexa's help because she's the first generation who's born in social media. So then she understands it. Like, her feed is different than my feed. Like, her TikTok feed and her Snapchat is different than mine. So we really need their help of figuring out, like, what are the problems? Like, she was the first one to tell me about cancel culture even before it even hit the news. And then we were able to have the conversations about what cancel culture is, what does that mean for us, what should we do, and from a company perspective, how can we roll that out to the students and educators so that we can start having those conversations.
And Alexa, I love that Kim goes straight to you all as the source of truth, right? To get your perspectives on everything. But I know you also partner with other students in helping other students understand how to create and foster those safe spaces. So what do you actively do as a student to help other students in this area?
Definitely. I think something that's really important for students to remember is that there's someone on the other side of the screen. And so you aren't just posting and it goes into the world bubble of the internet, that truly your words will affect someone. And so same thing with digital footprint, but just think about how your posts can maybe perceived by others and how that will affect their perception of you and what impact you're having on them. That could be good or negative, but it's up to you to decide which that is.
Definitely. Every action has some type of reaction, right?
Yes.
And to take a second to step back and think, like, what I'm about to do, what kind of effect will this have on someone else? And what great advice, Alexa, for students, by students, but all of us can learn from that. And so I know sometimes as educators, we have so many things that we're doing that we might not know exactly where to start. We might want to, make an impact, but don't know where to start. And your organization has incredible resources and strategies for educators about digital wellness. So I would love for you to share a little bit about what your organization has available for teachers and students.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different curriculums. So we actually have free curriculum that we teamed up with Providence Health with, that because of all the mental health issues, anxiety and depression has increased 37% since smartphones came out. Suicide now is the number 2 cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds. So we partner with Providence Health to create free curriculum. So we put it up on Flipgrid as one of our resource libraries piece, just to kind of walk through it. And I just think that's so important to have that. And people like Alexa are breaking the stigma about mental health, because it really is like everyone feels like, oh, I definitely have need some digital wellness after this past year of being online so much. So those are some strategies. I think the big one that I've been doing, yeah, there you go. So perfect. Yeah. So if you just go into even the digital wellness one, my favorite one to even just start off with is just talking about screen time, and don't make people feel guilty. I think Alexa even admitted to it. She's like, when people pulled up their screen time, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize mine was so high. And like mine actually is pretty low because I purposely like force myself to like use it less because I don't want it to have it super high. So it's just make it a competition. Who had the highest, who had the lowest, and then even laugh about it. And then just ask them, are you like, what do you want to do about it? Right. So it's like, and ask them like, why was yours so high? So Alexa, why is your screen time so high?
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. Oh my goodness. When I saw on my phone that I had that ability to see how I was spending my time, it makes you a little bit more conscious and aware of planning out your time. So Alexa, I would love to hear your perspective on this. As students are sharing their screen time, what's that conversation like?
Definitely. I think to that point, something I realized is the ability to set digital boundaries is huge. I recently removed all my social media apps from my home screen. They're still on my phone, but they're in like my app library. So if I want to go on Instagram, I want to go on Twitter, I can, but it takes more of a conscious effort than just tapping and scrolling out of habit, because that's really what I was doing. And I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm not gaining anything from this. And social media does have so many perks. And when it's used in the right way, it can be really valuable information. But if you're just scrolling mindlessly because you're trying to fill your time, I think that at that point I was like, let me reevaluate where I'm putting my time and energy and figure out how to set these digital boundaries. So I think that's another great strategy for digital wellness is check your screen time and then figure out where you need to set those boundaries for yourself.
Oh, yeah. And educators, there's a topic right there for you to use with your scholars. All you have to do is click on add topic. You can add it to your group discussions, or you can save it for a later date to use. How easy is that? So, Kim, I know you said that there were some other topics in here you would love to showcase. So let's find that next topic. I think it was the emotional first aid kit, right? Tell us a little bit about that and how.
Well, again, breaking that stigma of mental health, we all need to go and then you want to be able to give them actionable items. So this is going to be your first aid kit of starting the conversation of what needs to be, when you are feeling anxious, when you are feeling depressed, what do you do? We're going to create that toolkit for you, that first aid kit for you to go to. So when they have that, so in it, one of my favorites, honestly, is photos, right? So like, what's your screensaver right now? Like, what's something that makes you happy? And so my screensaver is my niece and myself, right? She lives in Sweden, so we haven't seen each other for like almost 2 years. But the cool thing about social media is that you can have that. Alexa, what's your favorite thing in the first aid kit?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing is the one that's touch. For my graduation gift, Kim gave me a weighted blanket. And so I'll just sit in my weighted blanket, scrolling on my phone and thinking of Kim. But I absolutely love this lesson. I think it's really important because these are things you can do online, but also offline as well. And for the one of sight, along with setting your wallpaper and things like that, but sight is also what you're seeing when you're consuming social media content. So one of the biggest things I talk about when I talk about digital wellness is controlling the content you're consuming. Check who you're following. If you haven't checked your following list in a while, I went through and muted a bunch of people the other day because I want to see how they're doing, but I don't want to see their posts every single day because it just isn't adding any value to my life. And I feel like it's adding more comparison than motivation to my life. Even on TikTok, I made my following page. I'm very specific who I follow on TikTok. It's either people talking about mental health or it's teachers because I'm going into education. And so I'm making sure that when I know I've been scrolling for too long on my For You page, I switch over to my following page to have those positive sites. So you can really get creative with the emotional first aid kit along with all the other lessons to figure out ways it works for you.
I love this so much because I think every day we actively learn what's good for us. And as Alexa said, what adds value to our lives and what makes us happy. And in looking at this awesome topic, I know music is like my therapy. So looking at the sounds, what songs make you happy or relaxed? And sometimes it may just take turning on those tunes for a good moment in time to just reset yourself. So thank you so much for sharing this topic with us. Are there any other resources? I know there's so much inside of Discovery Library, and we mentioned this Digital for Good, awesome collection once again. But this one is really special, I hear. This one called Bristol Compliments. So share a little bit about what that is and why is it so special?
Yeah, well, Digital for Good is our event that we actually created because being a teacher, I know you have to celebrate students, right? If you want students to use Digital for Good, you have to recognize the ones who are using it, right? So we have an event where we partner up with big companies like Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? Even the gaming companies like Supercell, Riot Games. they get to actually have an event where they celebrate it. So Alexa created this project when she was in 8th grade, and I'm going to have her share what her project was, because then she was one of our actual Digital for Good winners that was at Twitter headquarters back in her first one in 2018. So Alexa, tell them what Bristol Compliments is.
Definitely. So Kim came to present to our middle school, and we were in awe of I Can Help. And so my best friend Allison, she was like, Alexa, I want to make an Instagram that represents our school, but I want to represent it in a positive light, because there were a lot of gossip accounts going around about our school at that time. And so she came with the idea for Bristol Compliments and allowed me to tag team with her. And so the whole premise is we would anonymously compliment kids at our school, and we would do random compliment sprees to make sure we got everyone possible. We would do motivational music Mondays, like you were saying, having those tunes to lift you up. And every year we pass it on to new owners. And so, like I said, we started it in 7th grade. I'm going to my sophomore year of college, and it's still running to this day with new owners. So it's really exciting that students want to continue using this Digital for Good message and want to continue to see how they can put their own spin on it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And it just speaks to how much students can be those change makers. If we let them, as educators, we don't have to have all the answers. That's what we have our students for. They're very creative. They know the challenges that they're facing, and they also come up with solutions. So just knowing that you, had the charge and the willpower to create something special for your school in such a positive light will only inspire so many other students to look at what you've done and also put their own spin on it for their own schools. So thank you so much for sharing that. And educators, once again, if you want to inspire your students, here's a topic all about Alexa's project that your students can learn about, grow from, and even create their own projects to put on that positive spin into digital wellness and safety and everything else centered around digital etiquette. To just make life so much easier too, right? For each other, because we are in this life together. The more that we put out positivity in our social media or in our lives, the more it'll come back to us. That's the way that I feel. So Alexa, thank you so much for being an inspiration to so many students around the world. So let's do one last word. We'll get this off the screen so we can see your wonderful faces. What tips or lasting words do you have for educators or students as they get started on this journey to be just more digitally well? Say that fast 3 times.
Right. Yeah. Being digitally well. Yeah. Again, you have to have good digital wellness. You can't help others until you've helped yourself. And so I'm hoping you make sure you create your own digital first aid kit. That's a definitely must. But then I think it's the other one is we have another section that was on there about digital first responder, that teaching them how to be that first responder of how to react. Because I think that's where back when I was teaching and even still teaching, it's just walking them through those awkward moments because no one likes them. So just realize this is definitely a different world, and we're there to support and to educate them, and work side by side with them, not in front of them or behind them. I walk side by side with Alexa because she is so powerful, and I learn as much from her as that she learns from me. So I think that's the big piece with this new world, is that we have to walk side by side with each other.
I love that so much. So take care of yourself. And then, hey, we're here for each other. Let's work side by side. Reciprocity is a beautiful thing. Alexa, any parting words for everyone?
Yeah, just to echo what Kim said, digital and social media is such a huge part of our everyday life now. And so these are a great way to start the conversations in your classroom or in your friend groups or with parents, because it's unavoidable. So this is a great way to supply students with the tools they need to use digital for good and practice digital wellness and set those digital boundaries and everything we just talked about revolving around digital etiquette.
Awesome. And as always, the strategy shared in today's segment will once again just help you to empower every voice. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are here to support you in your learning and growth, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, everybody.